Hey everybody, welcome to the Gdt Tigers Podcast, where today we will be celebrating what many are calling the greatest season in college football history. You can find us at www.gamedaytigers.com. Listen everybody, Nootch and I have been doing this all season long, and usually I start off with an intro, but I don't even want to talk about anything without my buddy Nootch. We got to celebrate. I apologize that it's taken this long to get this podcast out. Work got in the way. However, I'm kind of glad it did because that gave us some time to reflect. That gave us time for things to kind of sort themselves out, and we know things now that we didn't know right after the game. So Nootch and I are going to dive into all of that. Everybody welcome in from Montague, Louisiana, my buddy Nootch. Here we go. What's happening, buddy?
How does it feel to be national champion?
Man, I think the last time you asked me that, I said it feels unprecedented just to be where we were then. But now,
Yeah.
man, I'm on the mountaintop.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we play for. It was beautiful. It was absolutely amazing. You know what? It was worth the last 12 years of struggle and heartache. Nights like this make all of that worth it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just talk about the season real quick and put it in a nutshell. It's been a ride.
Yes, it has.
You know, Nootch, I mean, can you tell me this isn't the greatest season ever for a college football team?
Absolute worst, it's in the discussion. We're only the second team in college football history to go 15-0. We're the first team to ever beat 7 top 10 opponents. Myself, I don't like that stat because that's at the time the games were played was 7. Well, you know what? At the end of the season, the final AP, we beat 6 top 10 teams, which is pretty damn phenomenal.
It's got to be unprecedented.
It may be. I don't know that record. It was just this was a season for the ages. This is something I'll remember forever, and I can't wait to tell my grandkids about this. This is our 1958. We've finally seen an undefeated team with the absolute, bar none, hands down best player in the country leading it. It happened. I got to watch it happen. It was amazing.
I'm not going to start the debate, is LSU 2019 the best college football team ever? Because there's no way to quantify that. The best college football season in 150 years of college football, period. Yeah. I don't think there is any debate about that because of who we beat and how we beat them.
I agree. You know, some of those like mid-90s Nebraska teams were never challenged. They also didn't face the sheer number of teams that we had to face this year, the sheer quantity of dogfights that we had. Yeah, I think this was the best season. It's the best season of my lifetime, for sure. I can't think of anything that's even in the discussion.
I'll go ahead and say it. It's the best season of my lifetime, and that pretty much means it's the best season in the history of college football right there.
Yeah.
So, we beat Clemson, but tell me you didn't get a little nervous during that game.
The beginning of both halves, I really did. Man, look, I'll be honest. In hindsight, our very first offensive snap, that penalty on McGee, being a little bit too far downfield, the ineligible man, I think that changed that game, the complexion early on. We may have just blown them sheer out of the water if not for that penalty, because here Clemson had us down deep. Burrow avoids a sack in the end zone, chucks one down the field. Moss catches it. We got the ball at midfield. Here we go. This is LSU football. Well, no, that's coming back. And then we didn't get a first down for a while. We seem to not be able to get out of the shadow of our own goalposts. And, man, let's face it, Clemson's a good ball club. When Clemson starts, the momentum's flowing in their direction. Isaiah Simmons, man, look, that guy's legit. That dude was everywhere those first couple of possessions.
Yeah, we talked about it in the lead-up. He's the man.
I had several group texts going on with family members and everything, and there was quite a few of them that they want to just believe this SEC is absolute God's hype that we was going to win by 4 billion points. Clemson doesn't get here by accident. They're a damn good ball club. This is going to be a fight. That's what it was early on. It was a dogfight.
Early on, yeah, it was. I know people all over the country because of the nature of my business. So I have several friends that are Clemson fans. Even right now. They think that was a ball game, though, Nootch. That was a ball game until it was 17-7. Do you realize? I don't think a lot of people even realize this. What happened after that? 35-8. I mean, that's a pretty good little run.
And really, I'll tell you when it all changed was that screen pass to Jamar Chase. That, to me, was the turning point. Middle of the third quarter, it's a 3-point game. Up to that point, we've had very little success on third downs. I don't think we had converted one yet in the second half. It's just a screen on 3rd and 11. Chase takes it for 43. The very next play was the targeting call, which, man, look, I'll be honest. By rule, that is absolutely targeting 100%. But I agree with all the radio people. We really need to sit back and discuss the way these targeting rules are. I mean, man, that kid doesn't deserve to get ejected from this game.
Now, hold on, because we got witnesses that are going to be listening to this podcast. But I said right then and there in the chat room on GameDayTigers.com, I totally agree it was targeting, but I feel bad for that kid. And you said no. You said no, screw him.
Oh, yeah, in the heat of the moment, you're right, because he's playing for the other team.
I felt bad for him, but, I mean, it's totally targeting. I mean, he checked every box. Every box of targeting rule, he checked it.
He did, absolutely, 100%. That was definitely, by rule, that was targeting. But that wasn't a malicious hit. You know what? It was stupid. He lowered his head. If he just picks up his head and looks where he goes face mask instead, he's not ejected. It's not even a penalty.
Yeah, and it makes a difference, too, because that's the guy that put a hurting on Joe right at the end of the first half when he threw the touchdown pass to Moss.
Right. I mean, it's everything. For one, they lose one of their defensive leaders, and in the very next play, we get a touchdown throw into a tight end. That right there swung the game. And then early in the fourth, when they had that offensive pass interference call to take a touchdown off the board, which I don't care what any Clemson fan says, that was textbook offensive pass interference. That was the knockout blow. When that happened, I knew that was game over. It took every little bit of wind out of their sails. That was it. Game was over at that point.
Yeah, I want to talk, just football to you about that game. To me, there's 3 really key statistics that determine a football game.
Yes.
Red zone, third down conversions, and turnovers.
I can agree with that.
To me, anyway. But in this game, I want to talk about the third down conversions. Without having the stats in front of me, I don't even know what ours were. We were 4 for 14.
Yes.
Clemson was 1 for 11.
Yep. And if I remember right, that one came pretty early.
I believe you're correct. Everything came pretty early for them. Like I said, we outscored them 35-8 to end the game.
Yeah. God, this was fun.
Red zone efficiency. Clemson, they came in really highly touted defensively, and especially with regards to red zone defense, they were one of the top teams in the country, red zone defense. They held LSU to 4 for 4. Oh, wait, that's 100%.
Yeah, that's why we were number 1 in the country in red zone offense.
Yeah, and then, turnovers. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm going to let you take that one.
Yeah, well, there was one turnover in the entire game, and I found it fitting. If you think back to the very first podcast that you and I did together at the beginning of the season, man, we talked about The defense is the defense. And we talked about your man crush, Derek Stingley, and mine, Grant Delpit. Man, you know what? The very last snap of this football season that the defense was on, Grant Delpit forced the fumble and Derek Stingley recovered it. If I had to write out an ending for this defense, that was it. That clinched the title for us. We were winning it already at that point anyway. There was no doubt. But that sealed the deal. Grant Delpit's last play as an LSU Tiger was forcing a fumble in the national championship game.
Yeah, you're right. The turnover battle didn't really come into play necessarily as far as determining the game, but I did want to give you the opportunity to point out that our man crushes combined for the only turnover of the game.
That made it official.
After that turnover, forced by your man crush Grant Delpit, recovered by my man crush Derek Stingley, Clyde Edwards-Helaire took over.
Yes.
And, you know, in retrospect, you go back to the beginning of this season, and our one concern was, could we eat clock?
And you know what? I actually have this number right here in front of me. Do you know what the time of possession for the fourth quarter was?
Tell me.
LSU 11 minutes, 39 seconds to Clemson's 2 minutes, 58 seconds.
Wow.
That is putting a game away, which was something early on that we didn't know. If you had the lead and you needed to just get the clock, just get out of it, just win.
Well, I mean, the whole season, and I loved this about this team, they didn't worry about that. They just kept scoring.
Yeah. And we could have scored again down the stretch. And you know what? Kudos to Clyde. How many times did he stay in bounds and just go down?
Clyde was just invaluable all season, and he showed it in that fourth quarter, wound up with over 100 yards rushing.
And literally the only complaint I have, and it's minor in itself, only complaint about the title game is that we did not get Clyde into the end zone.
Yeah, and I thought he had it there towards the end, and once we got down there to around the 4 or 5, wherever we were, I was just so excited about the game and about what was about to happen that I didn't even realize we got 1 minute and 20 seconds or whatever left, and we got a first down and goal, and we took victory formation to close out Clemson up 17 in the national championship game.
Victory formation is like the greatest thing that has ever been created.
It's the second greatest. The greatest thing would have been Clyde scoring a touchdown. I agree with you on that, but
true.
We kicked their ass.
That we did. We did, and they know we did. They can't deny it. We took them to the woodshed.
Yep. I guess God was on our side.
Oh, come on now. You really have to take that shot at Dalbo.
Yes.
I mean, I don't blame you for it. I wish I'd have thought of it, but because it was you, I'm going to take a shot at you for it.
No, I'm taking that shot.
Yeah. You know what? We're national champs. Whoever side, who was on, it doesn't matter. This year we ended Clemson's 29-game streak. Last year we ended UCF's 25-game streak. Who else wants to have a streak ended? Come play us in the postseason.
I believe Alabama had a streak ended this year. I mean, they had a couple of streaks ended.
Yeah.
I noticed they weren't in the playoffs.
No, they weren't. I did notice that little short bastard that coaches them had to figure out a way to be there. And, I mean, okay, dude, you got to sit there with Lee Corso where our guy was on the sidelines calling plays.
Oh, that was actually beautiful. Him sitting there in his blue Aflac suit while Corso, Corseaux, slides on the tiger head.
Oh, it looked like Nick wanted to die at that point.
Yeah, he was in hell right then and there. That was
a thing of beauty.
It was poetic. So, that's the game in a nutshell. LSU wound up victorious. A couple of scary moments early in each half. But
yeah, and you know what? The third quarter has been rough on us all year, so I expected it for the third. The first quarter is what had me nervous because we normally don't come out that slow in the first.
No, yeah, usually, we're up 14-0 pretty quick. And that was my nervous. I wasn't nervous in the third. I was nervous in the first because LSU looked confused. But, hey, just a tremendous job by Steve Ensminger, Joe Brady, and that offense, and Joe Burrow to not get rattled. They looked confused at first. We talked about Clemson's defense and Brent Venables, and he's going to bring disguised pressure, and he did. And it was effective for a while.
It was, until we had a chance to see it. The thing I heard was Burrow's talking about after a second possession, he was thinking to himself, there's no way they're playing man on Chase. There's no way. It's not happening. It's a disguise. It's a disguise. Well, after 2 full possessions on that third possession, he says, wow, they actually are. They're playing Chase man-to-man. And that's when we went down the field on that third possession and hit that deep ball to Chase because they were foolish enough to play man-up with Chase. As the other 14 teams we've played this year can attest, that doesn't work.
No, Chase, we talked about the game. We talked about the game, and we're going to get into some individual performances. But I know you brought something up to me that I had certainly not thought about, and it's pretty awesome. I want you to go ahead and share it with the group.
Yeah. Kevin Falk has a national championship as an LSU Tiger. You and I are both old enough to remember what the late 80s, early 90s were when we were just hemorrhaging recruits from Louisiana were going elsewhere. Kevin Falk started this. None of this is possible without Kevin Falk changing the flow of things. He made it cool to be from Louisiana and stay home to play for LSU. He returned for his senior year. He's the definition of a Tiger. And yeah, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, but I'd be willing to bet if you asked him, this title is more special than that.
Yeah, he reps Louisiana and always has, and he bleeds purple and gold, and I'm happy for Kevin Falk. So it only took 21 years after leaving LSU for Kevin Falk to get that ring.
But he got it.
And he got it at home in New Orleans, too, in Louisiana anyway.
Which is where he got his first Super Bowl ring, too.
Yeah, you see, you just know shit.
It's useless shit that gets me nowhere in life, but it is what it is.
It works out good on a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, let's go into some individual performances. And we're going to do this just like we have pretty much every podcast. We're going to highlight some things, and then we're going to get to our Joe Burrow Love Fest. But that's what we do. It is what it is. It's the last Joe Burrow Love Fest we get to have, so we're going to keep doing it the way we've been doing it. But, man, you mentioned Jamar Chase and Clemson being foolish enough to try and man up on this guy. What were they thinking?
And I don't know. He got 2 more touchdowns, which puts him alone in first place in SEC history for a season with 20. And you know what's scary? He's a true sophomore. He's coming back next year.
Yes, sir.
Man, his numbers, he's scary. He would be top half of the first round pick right now if he would be eligible. But he's not, so we get him again.
No, he's a man-child. I mean, he's always open. I don't care if somebody's on him or not. He's open.
And what he does with the ball, I mean, quite a few times, he should have had a 3rd touchdown on that long pass that you and I spoke about. That he pulled up on it. It happens, whatever.
Oh, but, no, okay, he should have had 4.
Yeah, well.
He dropped 1, too.
Yeah, he did. I forgot about the drop. But even, you look like I mentioned that screen pass. What he does with the ball, he doesn't just go down. He's not your typical receiver who goes down first contact. He keeps fighting. He breaks tackles. He makes people miss. Man, this guy's good.
Yeah, this guy's great.
Yeah, he's special.
I believe it was in the lead-up that if it wasn't for Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson wins the Biletnikoff.
I would think so, yeah. He had over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns himself this year. Over 100 catches.
Yeah, well over. I mean, his performance in the Oklahoma game was just stupid.
Yes.
But Chase, he's a guy that we get back, along with Terrace Marshall, who, it's kind of funny. I think Terrace Marshall is phenomenal. But people kind of sleep on him because he missed, 4 games?
Yeah. And then he only scored 13 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, missing 4 games.
Right. And when I say only, just remember 13 would have been an LSU single-season record prior to this season.
Exactly.
He finished 3rd on this team.
Were we loaded or what? I know I said this in the lead-up. The gap between our offense and their defense is bigger than the gap between their offense and our defense.
Yes, you did say that, and I agree.
Now, here's the truth of the matter. The gap between our defense and their offense is in our favor. And the gap between our offense and their defense, of course, is in our favor. But I don't think anybody realized everybody slept on LSU's defense.
And I think you and I, we even spoke about it multiple times during the season. I think a lot of it is that we were spoiled by a typical LSU defense. This defense is not going down in LSU lore as one of the greats. It's not.
No, I think we finished 9th in the SEC in total defense.
Right, but they were more than good enough for what we needed.
Well, not only that, another thing we talked about was injuries all year. take the last 5 games. Somebody's got to do this, and I nominate you. But take the last 5 games. At some point, you let me know where we rank, because this defense really turned it on after that Ole Miss game.
Yeah, they did. And, that Ole Miss game, I think, was a wake-up call. For one, we got healthy after that. If you recall, I think it was the very next game was the game Delpit sat, which was the Arkansas game.
Correct.
And then from that point on, it was a completely different ball club. They just weren't the same anymore. They heard the people talking, I think.
Well, when Ohio State jumped LSU in the playoff rankings to number 1, they heard that.
Oh, yeah, because, and it was well said, everyone kept saying, most complete, most complete. The defense knew what that meant. I mean, everyone on the planet knew what that meant.
Well, yeah, because there was no such thing as an offense that's ever been more complete than LSU's offense was this year, so it had to be the defense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, our defense was actually better than their offense, and our offense, of course, was better than their defense, and that bore out in the way the game played out. So Jamar Chase had another incredible game. 2 touchdowns, could have had 4.
Yes, should have had 4.
Yeah, the drop was very uncharacteristic, and it hit him right in the hands. I mean, he had to make adjustments, but he's done that all year. The one you were talking about where he pulled up, I think what happened when he kind of juked and that safety went by him, I think he thought that safety was out of the play and he was going to walk into the end zone, and the safety made a really quick recovery and caught up to him. But,
yeah, it happened.
Yeah, it is what it is. Now, one guy that I talked about on their defense that I said there's no way he could handle Justin Jefferson, and that was Tanner Muse. Phenomenal athlete. Don't get me wrong. Fast, can jump. I mean, just a great athlete. But I said he didn't have the hips. Did you see what Justin Jefferson did to that poor boy?
Man, you know what? Jefferson had a hell of a game himself.
Jefferson caught that ball, and he's kind of going down the sideline, and he just put on the brakes. And that dude looked like he had just taken 12 muscle relaxers. I mean, he hit the ground stumbling, fell over himself, and Jefferson just took off.
Is that the Reggie Bush stop that we're talking about?
Yes. That play. Rewatch. If you rewatch anything, rewatch that and laugh at that poor guy. And I told you guys in the lead up, he's a crazy elite athlete, but he just can't handle that kind of moves. He doesn't have the hips to keep up with somebody like Justin Jefferson. Jefferson put him on his ass in embarrassing fashion. If you don't watch anything else, go rewatch that catch. Now, the other one that I mentioned in the lead-up was Thad Moss, and I said that he may wind up being covered by Isaiah Simmons. And that would mean that Isaiah Simmons is not rushing Joe Burrow. And that happened a little bit early. He stayed with Thad Moss, and he can. Talk about a great athlete. But they had to get pressure on Burrow, and it came in the form of number 47, the one that got ejected, Skalski.
Yes.
He hit Burrow several times, but once he got ejected, they had to bring Simmons, and Thad Moss had himself a game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, give him credit for that first touchdown, too. I mean, that was before half. That was before the ejection. That was when pretty much everybody forgot Thad Moss existed, and he just camped out in the end zone.
Yeah, he did a little stop route. He just ran a yard inside the end zone, turn around, and Joe hit him. Easiest pass Joe Burrow's thrown all year.
Probably, yeah.
But Thad wound up with 2 touchdowns. That dude is crazy athletic for his size.
That second touchdown was something special.
If you go back and look at that, and then you go back and look at the catch against Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy his size, you know,
his dad's Randy Moss. You got to kind of expect some of that to rub off, right?
You bring up a good point there. But he doubled his touchdown production on the season. He had 2 coming in, and he had 4 going out. So I'm glad to see him go out on a high note like that in his last game as a Tiger. We're going to get to all of that here shortly with who's not going to be with us next season. We kind of talked about Clyde already. Started off slow, but wound up icing the game. And, you know, he played well. He caught a couple of passes. But once he got going running the ball game.
Because he's Clyde. That's what he does.
The offensive line, I want to give a shout-out to them for the adjustments made. Because, you know, Brent Venables, that's a tough defensive coordinator. He's got a hell of a defense. He's got a hell of a scheme. It's hard to figure out. Once they got it figured out, that's when LSU started on that 35-8 run. So let's move to the defense. You know, I said in retrospect, our defense was better than their offense. Several guys had some really phenomenal games. I'll start off with Christian Fulton because he kind of got picked on early, but he got it together. He had an interception. You talked about that offensive pass interference call that the Clemson fans are complaining about.
Yeah.
I'm complaining about that pass interference call on Fulton. That's a pick.
Yes, 100%.
Go back and rewatch that play. Nootch, he didn't touch him.
No.
It looked like he
all.
did, but he didn't touch him. And he intercepted the ball, and they threw a flag. But Christian Fulton, the main reason, you know, he didn't have the best game, but the main reason I want to call him out is because a couple of years ago, Savion Smith and Christian Fulton got in trouble at LSU. Christian Fulton was suspended. Savion Smith was suspended. Savion Smith quit. He ran to Alabama, sat out a year for his suspension, and went to Alabama so he could win a championship. Well, guess what?
Yep.
He didn't win a championship. Christian Fulton stayed true to LSU and to himself. And that dude has a ring.
Yes, he does.
He's a national champion from LSU. Christian Fulton, you're a winner. That's why I wanted to bring him up, because he stayed the course and it paid off. He earned it. Now, you want to talk about your man crush?
Man, I hate to see that guy go. He's leaving, but we had him healthy down the stretch, and we saw the Grant Delpit that we saw last year. And that his last play as a Tiger is forcing that fumble like we discussed earlier, that's poetic. That's perfect. I couldn't have scripted a better ending for that guy.
No, and I'm glad he forced that turnover, because talking about man crushes, my man crush was pretty quiet all night because they were picking on Fulton.
The reason they were picking on Fulton is your guy did a pretty decent job of covering people.
Yeah, when they did have any success, it wasn't on number 24. So the only way he was going to get any press is for Grant Delpit to pop Trevor Lawrence, Ronnie Bass, knock the ball away from him, and my guy be Johnny on the spot and pick it up.
Yep, absolutely.
Now I'm going to talk about probably a guy that, you know, he's not your man crush, but you've been hyping him up all year.
Jacoby.
Did you see the hit he put on that poor sucker, Amari, whatever his name is?
Yeah, Amari Rogers.
He probably don't even know his name today.
After that hit, I looked at my wife and said, that guy's going to wake up pissing blood tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was a shot to the kidneys.
It was clean.
Very much so.
But damn. I'll tell you, you know, mentioned this several times. My wife, casual fan, when she saw that hit, she said, "Ooh, is that legal?" I said, "Yeah, in all 50 states."
Yes, it is.
That was a perfectly legal hit. He stoned that dude.
Yeah, and he quietly had a good game. It wasn't anything amazing. I thought he would be a bigger factor than what he was, but played well. He had a good game. Patrick Queen obviously would be the defensive player of the game. I would have predicted Jacoby before the game, but Jacoby played well.
Patrick Queen made himself a lot of money Monday night.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He's a freak athlete, and I don't know that LSU fans, you know, he played last year. Hell, he played the year before. But this year was really his first time to shine. And yeah. I've been watching him the last few games, and he's really a freak. I mean, I hate to say it, but if he were to have another year with LSU, he would have been Devin White-ish.
That's high praise.
Devin Light, maybe. I'm not saying he would have been Devin White, but man, he's got some speed and athleticism, and it was on full display Monday night.
And he brings some hate with him when he makes contact too.
Oh yeah, and I guarantee you, I don't know if there's a counterpart that we have on the Clemson side that does podcasts, just a couple of fans like me and you that does a podcast, but I guarantee you if there is, they weren't sitting there thinking like we were with Simmons. They weren't sitting there singling out Patrick Queen.
No, not in the preview, but in their recap, I bet they mentioned his name.
Oh, hell yeah. They probably saying, man, who's that number 8? That dude was incredible. He played a phenomenal game. Jacob Phillips led the SEC in tackles this year. He was solid. Mike Divinity, I don't know how many plays. I predicted he'd be in for around 12, 15 plays. I don't know if that's what the number wound up being, but he was in on spot duty, and he was disruptive. He did not get any sacks, but Grant Delpit got a sack because of him.
Yep.
We learned something about what all these prognosticators are calling the number one pick in the 2021 draft, Trevor Lawrence. You put a little heat on that dude, he's wildly inaccurate.
Man, I'm glad you touched on that. You know who he reminded me of right now? Matt Leinart. And the reason I say that, it's not the stats, it's not the numbers.
It's certainly not the hair.
No, not the hair. Matt Leinart was the golden boy. He was the end-all, be-all. But, man, when you listen to this guy give interviews, when you watched him play, when things didn't go perfect, he wasn't all that. He wasn't really special. And, man, I thought to myself, watching him in college, especially down the stretch, that epic Rose Bowl against Vince Young in Texas that they lost, and some of those post-game comments. And I remember thinking to myself, man, if this is rattling you, what are you going to do when you're an early round draft pick and you're on a crap team? Because only crap teams really technically pick early. You'd have to be extremely fortunate to end up on a good team who's picking early in the first round. Right. Which means you're going to get pushed around. You're going to get beat. You're going to take a lot of pressure. You're going to get hit. You're not going to have parts and pieces around you. And you know what? Matt Leinart was a bust. He had a crap career because he couldn't handle not being on a fully loaded team that could just force their will upon everybody. And that's kind of what I'm seeing out of Trevor Lawrence right now. Yeah, great. You beat a really, really good Alabama team last year. But other than that, who have you played? Ohio State this year, and that's it. You've played 2 games against quality opponents your entire freaking college career so far. And now you play another one and things don't go well, and he looked frustrated.
He wanted interference on every play.
There was one he threw into the third row and wanted interference. And it's like, man, I mean, who are you going to call it on? The hot dog vendor?
I don't even, throw that Alabama game last year out because he was surrounded by, now last year's Clemson team, that was a great team. 3 first-rounders on the defensive line. That's what won them that game. He looked great, but it was because their defense just controlled that game.
You spoke about it in the lead-up against Ohio State, who's the first defense he's faced all year. 54%. We called him Jake Fromm. Well, you know what? He managed to do even worse than that this game. He was at 46-something, if I remember correctly.
He was below 50%. I mean, we're not going to make this podcast about Trevor Lawrence, but I would be shocked if he's the first overall pick in the 2021 draft. I don't see it. Now,
I won't be shocked because the NFL does stuff like that. I mean, I didn't see, you know what, just to show that I'm not biased, I'll knock one of our own. I didn't see number one overall pick type qualities out of Jamarcus Russell, but that's where he went. They get enamored with measurables.
They pick on
6'6" guy with the big arm.
Yeah, I just haven't seen him do anything special against real competition.
No,
and in fact, I've seen him fold against real competition. That's what I've seen.
Pretty much.
But that's a credit to our defense. I mean, we talked about Mike Divinity getting pressure. Caleb Chasson got pressure all night. He played a good game. LSU just brought it on the defensive side of the ball, especially, Clemson had that one drive early that went, 96 yards or something? The long drive that took like 4 or 5 plays where I think it was Higgins that scored on that reverse. That's when I was nervous, right then and there, because Grant Delpit took the worst angle I've ever seen in football, and I thought, we're in trouble.
Yes.
But I think at that point, the defense was just kind of tired because, winded because they've been out there so long in that first quarter with very little breaks because we were 3 and out and 3 and out. But after that, it was pretty much shut down city by our defense. Again, we ended the game on a 35-8 run against a team that, LSU was favored, but I heard a lot of prognosticators picking Clemson.
Yeah, they did. And, I mean, let's face it, if you remember right, leading up into when we was looking for those final rankings, one of the main reasons for wanting to be number 1 was to avoid having to play this Clemson team.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm going to go ahead and give Clemson their props right now. Best team we played all year?
I agree. Absolutely.
With that said, not on the same level as LSU.
No one was. Not this year.
Let's talk, before we get to Joe Burrow, let's talk about some coaches real quick.
Okay.
We started off with the offense, so we'll go ahead and talk about Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger and the game that they called. Coming out the way Clemson did, confusing the LSU offense, and they did. We were confused. To adapt the way they did, they've done it all year. But, man, just yet another tip of the cap to those guys. And, to just flip a switch, and all of a sudden, here we come. And then I want to talk about Dave Aranda.
Yeah, let's talk about that guy.
We, as LSU fans, and Nootch and I have said it ourselves this year, have been critical of him. Because, hey, the defense isn't in the top 15 or even 20 or 25. But, man, did he save the best for last. And he had a package for that Clemson. That Clemson offense is a great offense. I don't know that they're Alabama 2019 offense with Tua, but probably the second best offense we played, in my opinion. I'm saying Alabama was the best offense that we played, but man, Aranda, he made adjustments early and shut them down. Got his guys, and I heard an interview with him about what he did towards the back half of the season to turn things around. And basically he said, we just went back to what we knew we could do. And we kind of mentioned that in the middle of the year. He's trying different things. He's tinkering with it. He's just trying to get, and he could afford to do that because we were beating the hell out of everybody.
Right.
Yeah, we were giving up 28 points to a team that shouldn't even be on the same field as us. But, he could afford to do that. But eventually he just said, you know what, we're just going to go back to our basics and we're going to play the style of defense that we know we're good at. And that's what they did.
Which, you notice it's a lot of man press coverage. Very few teams in the country have the personnel to do that. We do. And you know what? Even with all the losses we have coming in next year, we'll have the personnel to do it again next year. ESPN brought it up. That was one of the things that frustrated Lawrence. There was no zone to pick apart. We didn't play zone. That's not who LSU is. LSU, we're going to get whatever pressure we can. And for the most part, we're just going to lock you down. You have to out-athlete us now. Not many teams in this entire country can do that.
I think Dave Aranda was trying early on in the season and through the middle of the season to figure out a way to play zone, primarily for the Alabama game.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because Alabama had that four-headed monster at receiver. They had Tua Tagovailoa, Najee Harris. I mean, they had some offensive weapons that he knew that was the only team we faced that was going to have that. So while he had the chance, when we were up 60-7, he's going to play with it. And it didn't work out very well.
No, it didn't. And we weren't healthy either, which made it look kind of even worse.
But eventually he said, you know what, screw it. We're going to man up, and we're going to dominate these teams. And that's what the LSU Tigers defense did the last 5 games of the season. Domination.
Which, you asked earlier, I pulled up the numbers for you. Want to know how many yards we averaged total defense the last 5 games?
350?
295, which would be number 7 in the country.
Yeah, and that's why in the preview we talked about stats, and I said, you know what? Stats, they're fine. They're hard to argue, but the bottom line is they can be used any way you want to use them, and that proves right there that's a more true stat. I mean, if you look, I just said LSU was 9th in the conference in total defense. I think we finished 32nd nationally.
Yeah,
but in the last 5 games, and it's not like we started playing bad teams. No, we were playing the number 2 team, the number 4 team, the number 3 team, or whatever. I don't know. It
was back-to-back number 4s. I mean, Georgia was 4 going into that game, and then Oklahoma was 4.
Yeah, and then we played Clemson.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of numbers we put up against those teams. Come on. That's our defense.
Yeah.
And people slept on it.
That was the defense you and I spoke about in the preseason. The defense is the defense. Well, they waited until the last month, but the defense showed up, and they were the defense.
Just in time.
I always had faith in them. I knew they could do it.
Well, real quick, let's talk about special teams. And all I'm going to say about that is Zach Von Rosenberg punted more times Monday night than he has all year. And
yeah.
I don't really care what his average was.
No,
I got to give props one more time to my boy Avery Atkins.
With the tackle?
Yet another tackle. And you could hear the announcers getting all excited. Oh, he's only got the kick. Oh, God, that kicker's fast.
and mean.
He's bringing the hammer with him.
Kicker in the country.
Yeah, he's bringing the hammer with him when he gets there. I love Avery Atkins. Kicks the hell out of the ball, but if you happen to return one, he'll knock the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the special teams report. Pretty much the same all year, except Von Rosenberg punted a lot early.
Yeah. And because we was inside of 50 yards, Kate York missed the field goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have backed it up a little bit.
I wanted him to take a delay a game. I even said it in Gdt Tigers chat room. I said, man, take a delay. Get him outside 50 yards. He'll nail it. No, it wasn't even close.
No, he shanked the hell out of it.
So, man, we talked about offense, defense. We talked about individuals on both. We talked about the coaches.
Yeah, there's one individual we haven't mentioned yet, right?
Who's that?
That would be the guy who plays quarterback.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I saw a thing yesterday on social media. LSU was at the White House. They've already been. And we are just now doing this podcast. LSU's already been to the White House with Donald Trump. And there's a picture of Joe Burrow and Donald Trump. And Joe's kind of in the background and Donald Trump's in the foreground. And the picture said, the most important man in the world and Donald Trump.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Joe, man, I guess in retrospect, I said Monday night I didn't care, but I do care. Joe broke so many records throughout the course of this year that we never thought were even possible.
You're right.
But there was one record that I thought he had locked down, and that was the single-season completion percentage record, and he actually lost it Monday night.
Yeah, that's the only one he didn't get.
And in retrospect, I'm pretty upset about it. He came really close, but, the first quarter just killed him.
Yes, it did.
I hated to see him lose that, but the dude finished with 60 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
60. And I know you got some numbers to go with that, so just take off with it.
I do. He had 60 passing and 5 rushing, so 65 total touchdowns responsible for. Prior to the 2019 football season, do you know what the LSU record for the entire team, total rushing and passing touchdowns was?
55?
It was 64. That's for the entire team. Joe Burrow did that by himself this year. He had over 6,000 yards. First individual player to ever go over 6,000 total yards in NCAA history. He went 6,040 total. The LSU entire team record prior to 2019 was 61.52. He's 100 yards away from that by himself. Absolutely ridiculous the numbers this kid has done.
If you take that ball that Chase dropped and Thad Moss's first catch getting called back,
he's there.
He's there.
Yeah, he is right there. It's unbelievable. Look, his 65 touchdowns this year, just this year. Okay, that's more than Herb Tyler's entire career as a 3.5-year starter who ran and threw a lot. Unfreaking believable. It's beyond numbers now. Just the numbers is one thing, and he's got his place in not just LSU but NCAA history. That's it. He's there. But man, let's talk about. I thought it was weird when he first transferred here. All of these people from Ohio and Ohio State were fans of this kid. I'm like, really, he's attempted a handful of passes there. Why? What's the big deal about this guy? But, now I get it. He's just a kid from Southeast Ohio. That's about as polar opposite different from South Louisiana as can be. And he could have transferred all sorts of places. He could have went to Cincinnati, threw up some numbers, and got drafted. But he chose LSU. He saw something at LSU. Why LSU? I don't know. If I was a quarterback, LSU was the last damn place I'd have went to if I was in his position. We kill quarterbacks. It's what we do. But he came here and fell in love with the place. I mean, he didn't even have a spring camp. All he had was fall of 2018. If you listen to reports, he got in a couple of scraps in practices and won the team over. And then he won me over for the Georgia game that year. After we scored, I think it was to go up 20. He goes to the sideline, and they show him beating his chest, saying, "This is our fucking house." And he said our, not mine, our. Like, he just embraced the whole area, the culture. You listen to him talk, and it was always we or us or our. It's never I or me or anything like that. Even when he won the Heisman, he thanked everybody on the planet, including Ohio State. He made it a point to go and hug those coaches. Like he's just something about this kid is different, that he's truly appreciative of where he's come from, of who he is. We win a title, and he talks about bringing the trophy home to Louisiana. Man, Louisiana's not home to him.
Oh, it is now.
It is. He meant it. It was, and you could tell by the emotion, and you see when he speaks, and the emotion he showed for the Heisman ceremony, and then talking even in the White House. It's genuine. It's not saying it because that's what you're supposed to say. This kid means it. He's something special that I don't know if we'll ever see somebody like him again. He's the complete total package, and I'm glad he came here, and I'm glad we got to see this.
Well, you talked about it. You said it's more than just the numbers. The numbers are mind-boggling. However, take the numbers out, and I'm going to sum up Joe Burrow in a moment that occurred Monday night.
Okay.
That pass that he threw at the end of the first half to Thad Moss, who was just standing alone in the end zone, like I said, easiest pass he's thrown all year. Dude, he got crushed by Skalski.
Oh, he got rocked.
I mean, helmet to ribs. And I watched him walk off the field. He didn't run and go celebrate in the end zone. He walked off the field, and when he got close to the sideline, it was some backup player. I don't even know who he was. He didn't even have a helmet anywhere near him, and he was about to go over there and hug Joe Burrow. And I read his lips. He said, "Don't touch me." And I knew then he was hurt. I knew he was. And he came out of the locker room 7 minutes before the rest of the team after halftime and threw soft toss for 7 minutes before the rest of the team came out. The whole second half, if he wasn't on the field, he was on that bike, riding that bike, trying to stay loose. So I knew he was hurt. And I even told you in the Game Day Tigers chat box that it would not surprise me if he had a broken rib. And you summed up Joe Burrow, and you said, if he does, you're not going to know about it till after the game.
Yeah.
That's Joe Burrow. And lo and behold, a couple of days after the game's over, we find out that Joe Burrow played the entire second half with torn cartilage in his ribs.
Yeah. And I can testify, I've never torn it, but I've strained the cartilage in my ribs. And when I tell you that is the most excruciating injury I have ever had, that's it. Right there. How this kid played with that, I have no clue. But that's Joe. That's who he is. There was no way he was being denied this. Wasn't happening. He's got this storybook to him. He knew he was going to win a national championship as a kid. He thought he was going to do it wearing a Nebraska jersey instead of LSU, but he knew he was going to win a national title. He knew he was going to be a first overall pick in the NFL. He just knew it. He had his ring size before this game. And he's not cocky about it. He's just confident. He knew he was winning a national title that night. That was it. We were winning a championship. There was no other option. That was it. We're winning it. And we did it.
Yes, we did. We've got one more person that I want to talk about.
Okay. Who's that?
You ready for it?
Yeah, I know what's coming. Go ahead.
I mean, Joe Burrow's a storybook ending to his college career. Coach O is living a storybook dream to me right now. Louisiana boy from down the bayou, down not too far away from where you are right now.
Straight line, we're talking only a handful of miles.
And nobody, I'm not going to say nobody, because I know a lot of people that thought it was a great hire. And I laughed at him.
I did too.
And I thought, just wait. Hopefully he doesn't completely tank the program. Hopefully they correct this mistake that they have made before it's too late. And we can get somebody in here that's qualified to be the head coach of LSU. And you and I both said that.
Yes, we did.
Here we are. His third full season is over. He hit 40 wins faster than Nick Saban, faster than Les Miles, faster than anybody in LSU history. His record against top 10 teams is stupid. And he has led LSU to the greatest season in college football history.
Yes, he did.
And he's a national championship head coach. And he deserves our props. And I know you share that sentiment.
Absolutely. He deserves total credit.
We have differing opinions now. My pendulum swung back in his favor a lot earlier than yours, I think. And that's not picking on you. I see something in Coach O that I didn't think existed. And, you have a valid point. Did he catch lightning in a bottle? Yes, he did. We all did. We caught lightning in a bottle this year. We know that.
Yeah.
But I see differences in him from what we knew before to what we see now. It's different.
He is absolutely 100% better than I gave him credit. Here's why I didn't want to have this discussion, because I don't want this to come across as negative. Man had a phenomenal season and gets credit for getting here. I don't know if he can sustain at a level higher than what got the previous guy fired. That was always my point on O. Now, I personally, at the time he was hired, I was thinking more DiNardo-esque level is where we would be. I didn't think he would tank us like what he was at Ole Miss. I never thought he was that bad. And again, this year he gets total credit for. I don't want to take that away from him. I don't want this to sound negative. But I do think this year is going to be an anomaly. This year, literally everything fell perfectly. That doesn't happen for anybody, ever. This was a once-in-a-lifetime thing for anyone. I mean, not even Nick Saban has ever had a year like this. Belichick in the NFL has never had a year like this. So I'm not one who's going to say that, well, this is the new normal, because this isn't. This is not normal. This isn't normal for anyone. So I think we're going to go back to more, you know what, if next year is a progression somewhat from 2018, it's a step back from 19, obviously, because 19 was stupid good, then I think we're in a good spot. If he can go and next year it looks like a step up from 18, then we're still golden. If it's not, then I'm going to be nervous.
Fair enough, and I don't think that comes across harsh at all. I mean, anybody that thinks this is the new normal for LSU is crazy. And that's not an indictment against Coach O. I mean, that's just the bottom line. We just had the greatest season in college football history. We're not going to do that every year.
No one does. And then
nobody's ever had a season like this.
That's not even taking into consideration what we're losing. That's just, if we return this exact same cast again next year, I don't know if we could duplicate this. That's how perfect this was.
Yeah, and we definitely don't. I'll tell you what, Coach O's got a tough job ahead of him. We don't return everybody. I mentioned in the intro to this podcast that I was kind of glad that we waited so long to do this, because we had time to reflect and collect our thoughts, but also because we had time for things to happen that we didn't know about on Monday night. But so far, and I'm going to keep this brief because we're long right now, LSU has lost 9 juniors to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Not even counting the seniors, the starters. Joe freaking Burrow just graduated. He's done. Guys like Christian Fulton, Mike Divinity, they're done. Rashard Lawrence. Is next year a rebuild year? I think it is.
It's the definition. I actually wrote this out. I don't have it in front of me, but I wrote it out, and it's scary. We have lost starters this year, if you count juniors and your seniors. You're starting left tackle. You're starting left guard. You're center. You're starting right guard. You're starting quarterback. You're starting running back. You're starting tight end. And the wide receiver who led your team in catches. That's what you're losing on offense. Okay, defense. You lose Rashard Lawrence, who's you're starting defensive end. The rest of the D-line comes back, which is a good thing. You lose every significant contributor in your linebacking core, pretty much. Damone Clark played a good bit. Marcel Brooks got playing time. Those guys will be back. But other than that, no, you're losing all of them. You're losing Phillips. You're losing Queen. You're losing Divinity. You're losing Chasson. All gone. Every single one gone. You're starting safety. Grant Delpit, gone. Christian Fulton, gone. That's a big hit. But I will say this. I'm not as concerned about the defense because Jacoby Stevens is coming back. Like I mentioned, for the most part, the rest of the defensive line's coming back. Shelvin's back. Puaika's back. Neil Farrell's back. All of those guys are back. Logan's back. In the secondary, Mo Hampton got some valuable playing time this year. He's back. Jacoby Stevens is back. Todd Harris, who you and I keep mentioning, but you read these forums, nobody even brings up Todd Harris's name anymore. Todd Harris is coming back, and he was a starter prior to injury, so I have no reason to doubt he'll be a starter again. Fingley's back. Kerry Vincent's coming back. Defense, I think, will be okay depending upon who we hire as far as defensive coordinator, what style he runs, those types of things obviously still are going to play into the factor. But, talent-wise, we're there. We have the talent on defense. Offense, it's going to be interesting.
Here's what I think. The LSU offense is never going back under this leadership to 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They have seen the light. They just have to find somebody. I'd like to see him promote George Munoz, because that's the guy that Joe Burrow gave credit to in his Heisman speech, is George Munoz. Yes. Yeah, Joe Brady is gone. He was hired as the Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator. Yeah, he went from $60 grand a year with the Saints to about, I think, $400,000 with LSU, maybe. I don't know.
He was probably in that range.
To $2 million in the span of a little over 12 calendar months, like you mentioned. Man, that dude. But he's gone.
30 years old.
Can you imagine? I don't even remember when I was 30.
Well, that was because they didn't even have calendars back then.
But he's gone, and yeah, I agree with you. There's got to be somebody else. I think there is already. I'll tell you this. That's where I think Coach O's going to earn your respect. He screwed up with Matt Canada. He hired the hot name and hated it. He hated it from the get-go. You could tell.
Right.
He hated it from the get-go. The difference between him and Coach Miles was he did something about it as quickly as he could.
I agree. Absolutely.
And, we look at head coaches and, we say, well, who do they hire? And we judge that based off their offensive coordinators and their defensive coordinators. But Coach O has made some great hires since he's been here. Bill Bush, Joe Brady. And so I'm thinking he's going to surprise you in a positive way with his replacement of Joe Brady. And then to top it all off, he's got to replace Dave Aranda.
That is, to me, that one's even bigger.
It is, because that's coordinator. I think Coach O is going to surprise with the hires that he makes. Surprise some people. Obviously, since I think he's going to do really well with it, it's not going to surprise me if he does. But I just think Coach O has earned a lot of respect in the industry.
Yes.
And not just this year. I mean, last year he did too. And, he's got a rich history, man. I mean, he's been all over. That's his 5th national championship.
Yes. And look, when you say surprise, I'll say that. I'll say here's why I think he's going to surprise people. Because I think it's probably going to be names that aren't necessarily the big name that everybody's accustomed to. That's kind of who he's been. That's his MO.
You mean we're not going after Clancy Pendergrass?
No.
Okay.
Well, he's unemployed, so maybe. I'm not going to say no because he does have ties to him from their USC days together. I'm not going to say no to him just because that's a possibility. But just meaning, don't be shocked if you come up with a name that you have to actually go and Google at the end of. When you hear the name, you're going to say like, wait, who? And you go ahead and look him up.
Yeah, that's going back to the Matt Canada hire, I think that was a blip on the radar when he did it basically to keep other people from getting him, because everybody wanted Matt Canada that year. And
sure.
Coach O went and got him. And it was a horrible mistake. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. He's not going to go for the hot name. He's going to go for, and this is like so Coach O, he's going to go for the guy that fits LSU. He's done that with the rest of his hires. Like I said, you look at head coaching hires as, who's he hires as defensive or offensive coordinator, but it goes way deeper than that. Look at the analyst. Look at the position coaches that he's hired. He's done a great job at that, save for Matt Canada. He didn't mesh. And I think Coach O is going to make a good hire for defensive coordinator. I mean, the man knows defense. He knows what he wants to see out of LSU defense. I mean, he wasn't happy with Dave Aranda earlier in the year.
No, he wasn't. So, gut feeling, who are you taking at DC? Who's your favorite?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I've been too out of pocket. I know I've heard Chris Richard.
Yeah. Does he pronounce it Richard or Richard?
He's going to have to start pronouncing it Richard. Joe Burrow spelled his freaking name Burreaux.
I agree. I'm just curious, how does he pronounce it now?
He pronounces it Richard when he puts on that LSU jersey.
Okay, I'm good with that.
That's the name that I currently feel most confident about, but I really have no clue. I mean, I don't have an educated opinion.
Let me rephrase the question. Not who you think. Who would you pick if it was you? Right now, Fishhead, you get to pick on a DC. Who are you looking at?
Let's do process of elimination.
Okay.
Clancy Pendergrass is out.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Okay.
God, I hope so. What happens, Nooch, if he comes and hires Clancy Pendergrass? We're going to look like idiots.
Maybe not. I mean, that guy was really, if you remember right, when we hired Kevin Steele, that guy was at the top of the list.
I'll say Kevin Steele is out.
I think so, too, because he left specifically. I think he wants to retire in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, it's good for his
got
pension.
The tenure there, and
well, it's not going to happen anyway. But,
right.
a name that I've heard bannered about is Todd Grantham. And, you look at that and you say, well, that's a lateral move, but I've heard he's not that happy there. That's Florida defensive coordinator.
Right.
I like his style.
I do like his style. I have a feeling he would be a Matt Canada. I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard he's tough to work with.
Then that probably wouldn't work. So, honestly, I mean, I'm going with Richard.
Okay. I don't think it's going to happen, but I texted you a name. Penn State's defensive coordinator, Brent Pry. I'd like to give that guy a look. He's been around. He's been a defensive coordinator in multiple different areas. I don't know if we can get him because I think he seems pretty attached to James Franklin. He actually played for James Franklin, but he spent some time at USL, so he's got ties to Louisiana. I'm sure O has at least some familiarity with the guy, maybe not hands-on personal working with him, but it seems to be a pretty good DC to me, and he fits the bill of being not necessarily that guy that you would automatically think of.
So you're going with Brent Pry, and I'm going with Chris Richard.
Yeah.
Unless
we're both going to be wrong, right?
Probably.
Okay.
But unless he is hired as an offensive coordinator somewhere, I'm thinking Munoz will replace Joe Brady. And I think that would be a home run.
Or maybe you don't technically replace Joe Brady in title. I mean, we didn't have passing game coordinator / co-OC in 2018.
As long as we keep George Munoz. I don't care what his title is.
Right. I'm just thinking that frees up an extra paid coaching slot if you don't necessarily have that particular title.
Yeah, and I kind of actually fully 100% expected that was going to go to Frank Wilson, but it's not.
No, he's I forgot where he just hired on somewhere.
How could you forget? I think he was placed at McNeese State by Ed Orgeron.
He may have.
Because I can tell you somebody that wanted him. The Lane Train.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah, how is the SEC coaching going to be now in the West? This is going to be interesting. We got Leach and Lane in the same division.
In the same state.
Yes, indeed.
I can't wait till SEC Media Days this July just to hear Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach.
Think about this. If you want to talk to just how amazing college football is. One jackass for Ole Miss crawls around on all fours, acting like a dog pissing on a goalpost. That one move ends up making the Egg Bowl next year must-see TV now, because now you got Lane versus Leach. It's just from that one jackass doing that one celebration set all of this into motion.
And, that is pretty amazing. I've thought about that. I've seen that bannered about on other message boards even. But here's something that I think is going to appeal to you.
Okay.
Who do you love to hate? Auburn.
With a passion?
Okay. So I've seen some people talking about Baylor and how much they're hating Baylor because Matt Rule left Baylor, went to Carolina, hired Joe Brady, stole Joe Brady from us.
Yeah.
And then Dave Aranda takes the head coaching job at Baylor. But here, let's just go ahead and go full circle. It's Cam Newton's fault.
Yes, it is.
Cam Newton sucked, got hurt, whatever, walked around in his capri pants too much, and the Carolina Panthers, in turn, sucked, got their coach fired, Matt Rule gets hired, steals Joe Brady, and Dave Aranda goes to Baylor. It all starts with Auburn.
Yeah, pretty much. You gotta hate those assholes even more now.
See,
I wish you hadn't brought up that freaking connection because I hadn't thought of the Cam Newton angle.
Yeah, it all started with Auburn. Bastards.
Jackasses.
All right, everybody. This is the final Game Day Tigers podcast with Fish and Nootch of the 2019 season.
Yes.
Now, I've talked to Nootch about this, and I've talked to Herb at Game Day Tigers, kind of messaged him and told him kind of what I had in mind. when you hear Fish and Nootch again, I don't know when that's going to be. I'll do some podcasts, I know, and I'll probably get Nootch on some of the baseball podcasts because he's a big baseball guy. But as far as the LSU Tigers football podcast with Fish and Nootch, from this point forward, we're changing the name of it to the 2-point conversion. And
I like that.
yeah, I mean, you got your points, I got mine. 2-point conversion. We're going to convert it. And that's what we're going to be bringing to Game Day Tigers next football season. That will probably start with a spring football podcast. And then, of course, we'll really kick it off in August when fall camp starts. And we're really looking forward to it. I can't say it's going to be as fun as this one was, but we're going to have fun doing it anyway. We've really enjoyed doing these podcasts. We do take credit for the season that LSU has had.
Absolutely, because they have yet to lose a game since we started doing these.
That's right. I got to give credit where credit's due, and that's to us.
Yes, absolutely. So, hey, on that note, real quick, you know I'm somewhat superstitious, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
have not shaved or trimmed my beard since the beginning of football season, and we still haven't lost. So do I just keep this thing going into next season or what?
Well, I know I told you about this, but I haven't shown you this, and I never would have. But I shaved my head in late August.
Yep, you did tell me that.
I did that because I was going to work in South Carolina, going to work a hurricane, which is usually pretty hectic. And for about a month, I don't have time to wipe my own ass, much less get a haircut. So I said,
Right.
You know what? Screw it. I'm shaving my head. Well, I did that, and they kept winning. So I kept shaving. And I kept shaving and kept shaving. Right now, I have hair. I have allowed it to grow all week. So do I keep shaving or do I let it grow? I can tell you right now, I'm letting it grow.
Well, I'm thinking I start fresh next season, right?
That's what I think. I may have to shave my head next August, but I'm letting it grow for now. I'm tired of being bald.
I hear you, and this is getting a little. I mean, we're not full on Garrett Schrader epicness, but I mean, it's a decent beard going, getting a little long and tangly.
I've seen pictures. That's the kind of stuff y'all have to look forward to next season when the 2-point conversion kicks off the 2020 LSU Tigers football season. In between now and then, join us at GameDayTigers.com. Congratulations to the 2019 LSU Tigers for the greatest college football season ever. Go Tigers!